Without objection, we will resume the regular order of business. Madam Clerk, call the roll and make sure we have a quorum present. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Rob Pitts.
Present.
Commissioner Liz Hausmann.
Present.
Commissioner Bob Ellis.
Present.
Commissioner Lee Morris.
Present.
Vice Chair Natalie Hall.
Present.
Commissioner Marvin Arrington Jr. Commissioner Khadijah Abdur-Rahman.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. For the public record, Commissioner Arrington is taken ill, so just state that for the record. They will not be returning.
In the absence of Commissioner Arrington, I'd like to make in the absence of Commissioner Arrington, there were a couple items that he really wanted to be able to vote on. I'd like to make a motion to move to the next meeting. 21-0328, registrations and elections. He asked that that be moved to the next meeting so he can have an opportunity to vote on it, because it's a very important issue. Page 7, item number 21-0328. Commissioner Arrington requested that that be moved to the next meeting so that he can also vote on it, because it's a very important issue. And wait a minute, I think I'm missing one. Sorry about that. Oh, and all of his items, he'd like those to be held.
What's the other one?
Let me see. 21-0460, he asked if that could be held because he had some questions about the Hammonds House and National Black Arts Festival. And then, and all of his items that actually have his name on them.
All right, and without amending the agenda, as we come to his items, we'll just, in his
Just
absence,
hold them.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
yes,
also,
sir.
and then one of his items is 0413, and I had spoken with Commissioner Arrington too. I had a companion item, 0473.
Which page, Commissioner?
0473 is on 12 of 13. It sort of relates to discussion on
0473,
0473. Yeah,
Okay.
so we would strike that one as well.
okay. All right, Madam Clerk. And if we miss any, we'll take them up as we come to them.
Do we have any items from executive session?
Madam County Attorney?
Good afternoon. Is there a motion to approve the settlement recommendation in item 1 on the executive session agenda?
So moved. I'll second. Let's vote, please. This is not reflected properly here. So the motion was to approve first item from executive session. Motion was made by Commissioner Morris. I seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. It's approved. What's the next one? Next one?
Is there a motion to approve the settlement recommendation set forth in item number 2?
Move approval. I'll second. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. It's approved. Next. That's it?
That was it.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
No other items from executive session. Continue, Madam Clerk.
Back on the bottom of page 6, 21-0446, purchasing and contract compliance, request approval of a resolution to extend the emergency purchasing authority of the chairman and county manager for COVID-19 related purchases.
Okay, is there a motion? And
I'll
I'll second,
second.
and then Commissioner Vice Chair Hall has a question.
Oh, is it showing it yet? There we go.
This is on page 6, number 0446. Is that the one?
Yes, 446. All right, hold on a second. Let me get to that page. Oh, no, that's okay. I do see it. I was going to ask about the inclusion, but I see you did include all the different specific fundings. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, motion is to approve.
And the motion passes, 5 yeas.
Continue.
21-0447, request ratification of countywide emergency procurements.
Is there a motion? All right, to approve by Commissioner Ellis, seconded by Commissioner Morris. Any, Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is about the feedings, because what I see on here is lunch, and that's the only thing that's on this emergency expenditure is lunch for COVID-19 response. And I'm trying to understand how that's an emergency, because we've been actually feeding people this entire time under COVID-19. So shouldn't we already have something in place that we know we need to feed them, and we kind of know how much we need to spend based on the number of people?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Felicia Strong-Whitaker, Purchasing. Initially, we did approve about 6 or 7 vendors to provide lunches for the SPOCs. They had to bring in another provider to supplement some of the lunches on some days, so that's what this approval is for. It is basically almost over as of the end of this month.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, cast your vote, please. Motion is to approve.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 5 yeas, 1 abstention. On page 7, 21-0448, purchasing and contract compliance. Request approval of the lowest responsible bidder to provide countywide armored car services as needed.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Hall, seconded by Commissioner Hausmann. Let's vote, please. Yes, sir. Commissioner Morris has a question.
Yeah, Ms. Felicia Strong-Whitaker, the materials showed that the bid tabulation was attached, but I didn't see it. Were there other bidders, and, or no, it's not clear from the materials provided?
Speaking to your mic, Ms.
Only one bidder, she
There
says.
was only one bidder, and that was Brinks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, cast your votes, please. The motion is to approve.
And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. 21-0449, registration and
All
election.
right, the 0328 was one of the ones that Commissioner Arrington asked to be held. Any objections to holding that one? All right, hearing none, we'll continue.
21-0449, registration and elections. Request approval to award a contract without competition to provide additional poll pads and accessories.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Richard Barron.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Richard Barron, Director of Registration and Elections. 210449, we're going to be increasing the number of Election Day polling places this year from 255 to 271 locations. And we need to get more poll pads, as well as the accessories that go along with them, in order to process voters in those new precincts. And some of these will also be dedicated to our training inventory as well. And these are being paid for out of our grant funds.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Morris with a second by me. Any questions, colleagues? Hearing none, please open the vote.
And the motion fails, 3 yeas, 1 nay.
Next item, please.
21-0450, registration elections, request approval to award a contract without competition to upgrade software system, vote mail processing equipment.
With
Motion
regard-
to approve is by Commissioner Morris, seconded by me. Any questions, colleagues? Commissioner Ellis?
Can you explain the nature of this, and it's not something we didn't already have in the prior election cycle?
This is a software upgrade that is needed for security purposes in order to, when we receive absentee ballots back in, when they run through this system that we have, the ReliaVote system. So anything that we mail out and it comes back in, if we connect to the internet, they need to do their software upgrade. I think when was the last time they upgraded this? But this is going to the Windows 10, correct? So this is to upgrade it to Windows 10 in order, and it's all has to do with cybersecurity.
Okay, so this is an upgrade?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I got it.
You want me to finish it? Okay, move approval by Commissioner Morris, seconded by me. Any additional questions? Hearing none, please open the vote.
And the motion passes, 5 yeas, 0 nays. 21-0451, registration and elections, request approval to utilize cooperative purchasing for the purchase of extraction scanners.
All right, is there a motion to approve? All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Hall, seconded by, I'll second for sake, conversation. Commissioner Morris, followed by Commissioner Ellis.
This is also grant funded. Is this the
Correct.
Zuckerberg grant that's funding this one?
Which grant?
The Zuckerberg,
This is Center for Tech and Civic Life.
is that his?
Well, they have received funding from many organizations. I don't know how much of it was from Zuckerberg.
But he was the funder of this one.
I don't know if it's, I don't think exclusive, I don't know what the source of it is.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments? The motion is to approve. Let's vote, please. Cast your vote, Madam Clerk.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 4 yeas, 1 nay. 21-0452, registration elections, request approval of a statewide contract to purchase additional voting equipment for training purposes, as amended.
Is there a motion? All right, take your question.
Okay, this was decreased by a significant amount. It was originally for over $500,000, and now it's decreased to $98,662. Can you explain why?
The supply chain issues from the vendor. They are not able, with the grant fund, to get the delivery because of supply chain issues globally with all the parts to do this. They can't get this equipment to us by the time the grant expires.
So does that mean that you're not going to receive all of the equipment that you actually need?
Correct.
So
What this will do is at least it will give us a training inventory, which is what we're trying to do, is get it to the point where we have an inventory just for Election Day, an inventory for training, and an inventory for early voting, so that we don't have to intermingle them. And if we don't have to pull them out of the training, sometimes we have to pull all of our equipment out of training piecemeal as the election gets closer. So this will help us avoid that in the future.
Okay, and since this is going to create a situation where you're not getting all of the equipment that you need, then are you going to need to come back for more equipment?
Yes, and that is mentioned in the budget soundings.
The budget soundings?
Yes.
All
That
right.
we will come back at a future date with that. We're working with the vendor to see what type of delivery schedule they will have.
Okay, so we should look at the budget sounding resolution that's coming up to check on that. Okay, thank you.
All right, what's your pleasure? Is there a motion to approve? No, there was not. Is there a motion to approve? All right, motion to approve by Vice Chair Hall. Is there a second? Is there a second? All right, I'll second for discussion. Let's vote, please. Yes, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ellis.
This is just a little bit more of a procedural thing. And several of these items are purchasing items, but in the paperwork or the board stuff, originally it was just like it'd be like a one-page like invoice or something. And then in some of these things too, whereas in normal purchasing items, there's a notation of what the source of funding is or whatever, that sort of stuff. And several of these, it's not necessarily noted. So, I don't know.
All right, Ms. Strong Whitaker?
It is a little bit,
Commissioner, it should include all of the attachments that we attached via Legistar. The one
Okay.
that you're specifically looking at for the equipment.
so 452, right on the stuff I did, there's not a mention of what the funding line is and the sources and all that, but at least I don't see it.
Commissioner Ellis on
It is
page
listed on page, I'm sorry.
256
Yes.
of the packet. Funding line, the funding line is identified. It is the grants funding line. It was originally identified at the $532,000 level, but we
Okay.
would only
And this
use
paperwork I got
about
up here is, with this memo, I guess it doesn't have it on it, so maybe that was just, maybe there's an error on, maybe I just don't have it here, so, thank you.
All right, other questions or comments? If not, cast your votes. The motion is to approve.
And the motion passes, 4 yeas, 1 nay. 21-0453, Finance, Presentation, Review, and Approval of the June 16, 2021 Budget Soundings.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second? All right, I'll second. Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner, Vice Chair?
Because this is the soundings that Mr. Barron referred to, is that correct?
Yes, well, what it mentions down, I think, towards the bottom is that at this time, future equipment needs, because as a result, it says of Senate Bill 202, county will increase the number of polling locations from 255 to 271. In preparation for the upcoming election cycle, we'll be required to procure additional equipment to furnish locations, and that will be very important next year with the primaries and the general. And so at some point, between carriers, election equipment, privacy screens, we'll come back with a request for approximately $3.5 million. But because of the supply chain issues globally, we need to get a schedule. The vendor's working on a schedule of delivery for those items. But we are not requesting that in this soundings. This was just a note for future equipment needs.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure I understood what you just said. So it's 6 million plus for, what's that for?
That's for the municipal election budget for November, and
That's for this year, not
that's for
next
this year. The
Okay.
municipal general and municipal runoff elections.
This year,
Yep, this year.
all right. Everybody clear on that? Commissioner Hausmann?
Yes, you mentioned 202 and having to increase precincts because of the number of voters. Does that apply to the municipal elections, or is that for general elections?
We are going to take a proposal to the board next month to increase from 255 to 271. Yes,
For municipal or for general?
for municipal, the municipal general and the municipal runoff.
Okay, I mean, typically the turnout's not nearly that high. And with our 3 weeks of early voting, do we really think that that's necessary for the municipal elections?
Typically, early voting
I mean,
is,
have you done some analysis on that?
we usually have lower early voting turnout during municipal elections than we do during other elections. So
Correct.
people tend to vote on election day more in those elections. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we don't have any precincts right now over 5,000 voters. And so what this will do, we have a number of time limits now because of Senate Bill 202 on election night that we have to adhere to, and especially with the city of Atlanta being involved with it, and their polling places don't close until 8. We have to make sure we have as many polling places and to make the paperwork and the closeout as easy as possible for the poll workers. So that's why we're trying to increase it now.
I think it'd be a good chance to analyze that for the future, because typically, there's not the big turnout that we have for the
Right,
off-year
and
elections.
you're right. It's just that as a percent of the voters who vote in the municipals, election day is usually a much bigger chunk than in other elections where we might have 60% vote early. For these, we might only have 30% vote
This one will
early.
be unique too, because we've got some countywide questions on there, but typically,
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Ellis?
So what's here, this represents all you would need for the municipal elections? Or are
Yes.
you going to make some recommendation to your board about more locations that's going to necessitate more equipment? You're going to be
This-
coming back and asking for another sound?
This includes those increases in polling locations.
It includes it?
Yeah, we budgeted in anticipation of increasing to 271 locations.
Okay.
Commissioner Abdur-Rahman?
Mr. Barron, I've got a question to ask you, and I want you to take your time in answering it. Is this increase as a result of SB 202?
Part of it is because there are certain requirements in there, especially as we look to the future of line length, and if the lines get to be a certain length, you can risk the state forcing you to expand your polling locations, but they force you to go under 2,000 voters at a precinct. Right now, we have 16 precincts that are above 5,000 registered voters. So we're trying to bring every precinct below 5,000 right now in anticipation of Senate Bill, the implications of Senate Bill 202. If we have any line lengths over an hour anywhere, then we will have to break those precincts down to 2,000, and that could increase the number of polling places we have by tens, 20s.
Exactly. So I guess a better question would be, as a result of your implementation plan of trying to anticipate and comply with SB 202, this is a part of that plan.
Yes.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Other questions or comments? If not, the motion before us is, I'm sorry, Vice Chair.
Yes, I do, because we're talking about an increase in polling locations, but we just had an item 449 fail. And so what impact would this have on you doing what you need to do to be successful with this increase in polling locations?
Well, that item was a grant-funded item, and that would have allowed the grant fund to pay for those poll pads, where now we will probably have to bring that before the Board of Commissioners and ask that it be paid for out of the general fund.
Instead of the grant fund?
The grant expires at the end of the month.
So we just had an item failed where we could use grant funding to do something, and now we would have to use our general fund money to do it. That's
Yeah,
what you're...
we'll have to come back.
Oh, well, that was really crazy. Okay, thank you.
All right, motion is to approve. Let's vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 5 yeas, 0 nays. On page 8, 21-0454, Information Technology. Request approval of a recommended proposal to provide
All right, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, this item is for our brand-new Health and Human Services app. And with your indulgence, I'd like to ask the CIO, along with Dr. Rochelle, to spend maybe 3 minutes previewing it for the board. I think it's a significant step in consolidating access to our HHS services. So if the board doesn't mind, I'd like to take just 3 minutes to do that.
Okay, you're on the clock. Approved by Commissioner Hall, seconded by Ellis. Where is she?
Thank you, Commissioners. Glenn Melendez, CIO for the county. This item is a collaborative effort between Dr. Rochelle and Ms. Corbett in External Affairs. It does advance our citizen engagement strategies by consolidating all services offered under HHS into a single mobile platform for our citizens. We've done a lot of these kinds of things for the county in recent times in doing citizen engagement initiatives, including some of the technology that we're using today to engage citizens more readily in operations of the county. This particular item, from a strategic perspective, does centralize things under a single platform, mobile platform, so it allows us to scale for other service offerings down the road to have them on a single service platform. With that said, there are just a couple of things that I just want to highlight on here. In terms of features, you could skip a couple of slides, Darren, if you can go to skip the next 2 slides. You can skip the next couple of slides. Keep going. Next. All right, so one of the features that I think is a really great feature is it does allow embedded videos. So if there are videos that we want to serve up to the community, that is available on the app as well. Next. Service locations, so location offerings that may be near you. It allows the citizens to see what service offerings are available near them. Next slide. Geofencing, again, this is allows you to go see what service offerings are within your vicinity. Next slide. Some repetition there. We can push notifications to our citizens, which is really great. So if there's a new service offering being offered by the county, we can push that notification to our citizens so they know what is available to them. Next slide. There's also a contact form as one of the key features, which allows citizens to engage directly with via phone or via a form in the app itself that allows you to engage with a representative of the county on that particular feature or service that you're looking to get information on. So you can engage directly from the mobile app itself. Next slide. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
How did I do, Chairman?
All right, the motion is to approve.
I just want to say that I'm so happy to see this because Jessica knows that for some years I've been pushing for us to have a guide, a service guide, and we started talking about doing that on the website, and to actually have an app is outstanding. So good work and congratulations on that.
Thanks. Commissioner Hausmann.
Congratulations to Jessica Corbett. Her team is tremendous in this work. And Dr. Rochelle.
Absolutely.
It looks pretty fabulous. When will it go live?
We'll probably have we used this vendor before. We were pretty quick with Fulton votes. That was about 2 months. I expect this one might take about 4 to get done.
4 months?
Roughly.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? None. The motion is to approve. Let's vote, please.
The vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. 21-0455, Human Resource Management, requests approval of a recommended proposal to conduct a market compensation survey.
Move approval, but I have a question.
All right, I'll second your question, Vice Chair.
Okay, I read through this thing over and over, and I could not find anything that, what happened? Oh, thank you, Chatt. I couldn't find anything that described details about the deliverables that are expected at the end of each phase.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Stacy Jones, Deputy Chief Human Resources Officer. So, as you have read, This survey and analysis will be presented to you in two phases. Phase 1 deliverable is for the recommended vendor to provide analysis and recommendation as it relates to elected official salaries and salary structure, as well as salaries and salary structures for other key classifications within the county. Phase 2 deliverable would be for the consultants to then provide the same analysis, conduct the same analysis, and provide recommendation as it relates to all other positions within the county.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's vote, please. The motion is to approve.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. 21-0457, County Manager requests approval of a resolution and the restatement and second amendment of the IGA between Fulton County and the Fulton County Board of Health.
All right, is there a motion? All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Ellis, seconded by Vice Chair Hall. And then Vice Chair Hall has a question.
All right. So let me see, we made changes. The only change that was made was to change it from real estate and asset management to the county manager's office.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, that was the primary change, was to change it to the county manager's office because it encompasses agreements from several different departments.
Yes.
The other change that we made was we recognized after the agenda was published that the attachment did not come in order of what we were requesting approval for. So I reordered it in a memo to the board, and so the proper order as well as the change in the department name.
Okay. We didn't have much time to really read this because it wasn't emailed until yesterday, and then when it was sent initially, it didn't have all the documents, so it was resent around 2 o'clock, and it's 189 pages long. So out of what I could get in with the help of Anita, my Director of Legislative and Community Affairs, here goes. It mentioned something about employees who decided not to transition, so I wanted to know how many employees decided not to transition to the state, and what percentage of the total employee base of BOH does that encompass?
So I'm not aware of any employees that did not decide to transfer, but before we get into questions, Vice Chair, with your permission, I just want to make one brief opening remark and then allow Dr. Paxton to do the same if that's okay with the board. I mean, I think we had, we all somewhat anticipated the directive in January to proceed with the transitioning of the Board of Health. And it has taken meetings multiple times a week, and the executive teams from both organizations working hand in hand since that time to get us to the point where we have these 4 agreements that will allow us to continue these services without any interruption to constituents of Fulton County. So I, for one, am very proud of the work that we did. I think the agreements are reflective of work that was done to ensure a smooth transition. And I'd like to thank Dr. Paxton and her team for participating in that exercise as well. I'm also going to ask Kenneth Herman to assist with the employee question that you had, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to just quickly say that that 100 and plus number of pages represents a great deal of blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
Oh, yeah, I know.
that went into this. And so I just want to thank the Board of Commissioners for having voted to allow, on the previous resolution that allows us to do this with the minimum amount of disruption to our services and to our employees. So I just wanted to specifically say thank you for this.
All right, and Kenneth?
Good morning, Commissioners. Actually, good afternoon. Commissioner Hall, we don't have an actual count of how many employees have not made the decision to transition. And just for clarification, If they're making that decision not to transition, that means one of two things. They have decided to seek employment somewhere else or to retire from the county and not go work with the Board of Health. Because as the resolution that you have, what the Board of Commissioners developed and approved, requires them to transition with the Board of Health, and we are not going through the normal RIF placement process. So we don't have a count for right now, but we'll get that to you based on my communication with the finance director as to how many employees have decided to retire.
Thank you for that extra explanation that would be needed. And it states that the Board of Health needs to utilize the 2 mobile units that were purchased using CARES Act funding by the county. How long do you foresee that the Board of Health will need to use those 2 mobile units? It doesn't say.
So the agreement provides for a lease at $1 for 1 year, Commissioner. Of course, if the Board of Health feels like they need that for additional time, we'll be able to work with them, but the agreement expires 1 year after the transition, so that'd be July 2022.
All right. All right, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the motion is to approve. Any other questions or comments? All right, cast your vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 5 yeas, 1 abstention.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
On page 9, under Arts and Libraries, 21-0458, request approval of recommended proposal to provide adult, young adult, and children's book and adult best-selling lease books.
All right, the motion to approve by Commissioner Morris, seconded by Vice Chair Hall. Any questions or comments? If not, let's vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Mr. Manager, before we leave the library situation, Mr. Manager, those plaques in those renovated libraries and so forth and the photos, has come up again, so we need to.
Could I have a moment on those? I do think, I've asked Al to prepare a memo for the board for you to make I don't know if make a decision is the right word, but I want you to be aware, the plaques as they would be constructed are when the libraries were all commissioned, and it's almost a completely different set of people. Alternatively, you could do plaques for when they are opened. So if you're open to looking at that, I'm going to bring that forward. Al's preparing a memo to do that that would then allow you to determine which names do you want listed on these plaques for libraries. Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. Thank you. Madam Clerk? We did. We voted. Oh, we did. There was a motion. All right, we'll make it.
6,
Yeah,
okay.
you did. Let's do it again, because the motion was made and seconded, and we voted on it, and it was approved.
Okay.
And correct. All right, next
Okay.
item, 0459.
21-0459, Library, request approval to extend an existing contract to provide internet access and connectivity for all library locations.
Mr. Chairman, the purchasing director and I had an opportunity to have extensive discussions about this item over the break, and we'd like to jointly request the board remove this item from the agenda, and we will bring it back in its correct form in the July meeting.
Okay, so without objection, then 0459 will be removed. Continue, Madam Clerk.
Under Health and Human Services, 21-046.
Now, the previous one, 0460, that was one that Commissioner Arrington wanted held, and no objections to holding that, correct? All right, continue. 0460, Arts and Culture.
The 4 contracts for,
He had questions about Hammonds House and National Black Arts Festival. Could you hear me? I'm sorry. He had questions about Hammonds House and National Black Arts Festival that he needed to ask.
Well, some of these are approved in January, and some of these are contracts, a lot of them that are dependent on this money.
I'm not
And
Commissioner Arrington.
I get it, but I mean, you know, to delay it another month when they should have already happened 3 months ago, 4 months ago, is a hardship on these organizations for their operations.
So,
So I'd like to go ahead and go forward with it. I'd move approval on the item.
All right, do I hear a second?
second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. Any good discussion?
I do.
All right, Commissioner Vice Chair Hall, Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Abdur-Rahman.
Oh, well, can we pull out the two that Commissioner Arrington had a question about, Hammonds House and National Black Arts Festival, and separate them?
Is that a
for-
friendly amendment?
That is a friendly
I will
amendment.
accept your friendly amendment.
This will be a division. Remember this now, this is a division of this item. Now, which two are we going to take up?
The other two, what is it, Johns Creek and
No,
Chattahoochee?
it wasn't Johns Creek.
No.
It- Hammond House and the Black Arts Festival.
No, he said, which one are we going to take up?
Oh, that we're going to take up?
Yeah,
Well, if we're taking those two out, then the Chattahoochee Nature
and Johns
Center
Creek.
and Johns Creek,
All right, I'll
correct.
entertain a motion on those two.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, properly
Oh.
moved and seconded. Vice Chair, you want to be heard? No? Commissioner Morris, you want to be heard?
Yeah, just quickly, what's the source of funding on this? I know we dealt with these in the budget, if I recall.
Commissioner Morris, these legacy partnerships are funded every year in the general fund budget.
It's not part of the grants.
No, sir.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Abdur-Rahman?
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Arrington left because he was ill, and you know, we have a duty to our constituents to do the right thing, and this is my opinion, but I want to openly state it. You know, we have a sense of urgency with some things, and then we don't have a sense of urgency with others. And so I think it's very important that if we truly are going to be fair across the board, we can't pick and choose what's important and what's not important on our own privilege, so to speak. And so I would ask that we think about that. I know there's a motion forward, but Commissioner Arrington was ill. Commissioner Arrington did ask for these to be held because he had important information. At least that was what was relayed to me. And so I just think that we need to be fair across the board. If we're going to do it for one, do it for others. And, you know, if he says that he's ill and he leaves and he wants to vote on it, I just think that's a fair request. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? The motion before us is to approve. Cast your vote, please. To approve.
And the motion passes, 5 yeas, 1 abstention.
Continue, Madam Clerk.
Under Health and Human Services, 21-0461, Senior Services, request approval of the lowest responsible bidder to provide pool maintenance services for 4 senior multipurpose facilities as needed.
All right, is there a motion? To approve by Commissioner Hausmann, seconded by Commissioner Ellis. Any questions, Commissioner Abdur-Rahman?
I'm sorry, Chair, that was left from the earlier one.
The motion is to approve.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. 21-0462, Public Works, request approval to renew existing contracts to provide standby miscellaneous construction wastewater system services.
All right, to a motion to approve by Commissioner Morris, seconded by Commissioner Hausmann. Any questions? Hearing none, let's vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. On page 10, 21-0463, Community Development, request approval of the pilot Fulton County Youth Leadership Program.
Motion is to approve by Commissioner Hall. Is there a second? I'll second I have a question as well. Commissioner Hall.
Okay, 463, sorry, hold on 1 second.
Mine, I'll ask mine while
Okay,
you're.
okay, while I'm looking
So
good.
what is a software, is that a video that we're buying? What is this? A software platform, what does that mean?
Chairman, this is a partnership with 21st Century Leaders, which is a youth development program. And this will be access to leadership development training using a virtual platform, software, videos, and things of that nature with students in Fulton County.
So it is a video that we're
I'm sorry?
buying. Yes?
I didn't hear you,
It's a
Chairman.
video that we're buying.
It's a platform of resources. Videos are a part of it, modules for
I'm just
education and
curious. No,
training.
I'm just curious. I'm ignorant when it comes to this IT stuff. But what is a platform of, what does that mean? I'm just curious.
So when students go into this program, they will have access to a variety of resources. Some are videos, some are modules. How will they access it? So each student will be registered. They will sign up for the program. They will have an orientation, and then they will get access to a variety of leadership resources.
Okay. Commissioner Vice Chair Hall, followed by Commissioner Abdur-Rahman.
Okay, I'm looking at the memo dated June 11th from yourself to the commissioners. Subject, Pilot Fulton County Youth Leadership Program. I noticed that it says this program started May 1st, and I haven't seen any media releases or flyers or communications or social media about it. Can you please let us know,
Yes, ma'am.
where is the social media? Where's the communications, the media release? Do we have flyers that we can share? Can you send them to us through PDF?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. I did send a correction to your chiefs of staff with the correct dates. The program has not launched because the board did not approve this program. And so there are currently in development all of the flyers and information that you will receive if this item is approved by the board.
Okay, so what is the new date?
The new date that the program will launch will be when the students return to school in August. So we anticipate recruitment and marketing in August for 9th through 12th graders. We are funded for 400 students and will recruit through clubs and other organizations at each school to participate in the program. Once a student is in the program, they can participate from 9th through 12th grade.
Okay, and it mentions some initiatives, but the website's very vague on what the initiatives are. Can you kind of give us an overview of that?
Yes, ma'am. So this platform is built on the different concepts of leadership and creating good character, preparing students to just be overall good citizens, college prep modules, career modules, and leadership modules in general. As students progress through the program, they can gain incentives and awards as they complete different levels of the program. Also built into the program are incentives like gift cards and other awards and prizes to incentivize students to complete all of the modules related to certain subject areas.
That's good. And so when you say the new launch begins in August, does that mean that you will start recruiting now up until August, or does that mean that the recruitment starts in August?
The recruitment starts in August. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So we should see all the communications in August once you start recruitment?
We will make sure that the board gets that information before the launch, that you're well aware before the opening day of the application and registration process. So I will ensure that you have that information before the public.
Thank you.
Commissioner Abdur-Rahman, followed by Commissioner Ellis.
I just want to go on record, Dr. Rochelle, that I've actually talked to Fulton County school board members that are excited about this program. At the end of the day, we have to invest in our youth. At the end of the day, we have to meet our youth where they are. And a lot of our youth don't know how to have a conversation. They don't know how to speak to someone with direct contact. They don't know how to go to an interview. They don't know the very simplest of things. And I think I'm very excited that this program is open to the high schoolers, that is interactive, that is something that they can actually earn incentives through. And I'm very excited about it. Chairman, I know that you probably are technically challenged, but me having some education in my background, I can tell you things that we take for granted because we are the older generation. This generation just does not know how or what to do. And so anything that we can do that will enhance, one, their social skills, two, their ability to be good stewards and good citizens, and also engage them where they are, which is interactive and on the computer. I absolutely applaud you, Dr. Rochelle. So I just wanted to go on record that this is well needed and it is past due, and I look forward to it being past a pilot program. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Commissioner Ellis?
Quick question on, would something like this not qualify for reimbursement from the ARAP?
I'll ask our CFO.
I mean, it just seems to fit,
Yes, sir.
some of the categories of stuff that they cite.
It probably would. I think we could take a closer look at it to see if it's something we could shift out of our general fund resources over to the local fiscal recovery funds.
Okay, thanks.
All right, the motion is to approve. Let's vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. Under Infrastructure and Economic Development, 21-0464, Public Works, request Board of Commissioners approval of an intergovernmental agreement for the use and distribution of proceeds generated by the 2021 Transportation Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax Referendum.
All right, motion to approve by Vice Chair Hall, a second by Commissioner Hausmann. Are there questions? In the absence of questions, let's vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 5 yeas, 1 abstention. Under Commissioners' action items, 21-0465, request approval of a resolution supplementing the Board of Commissioners' December 17th, 2008 resolution consenting to the inclusion of certain Fulton County taxes in the computation of tax allocation increment of the City of Atlanta Allocation District Number 1, West Side.
All right, motion to approve by Vice Chair Hall, second by Commissioner Morris. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to note that this was approved by NPUL and the English Avenue community, so I'm really glad to see this. It's affordable housing.
Cast your vote.
And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. Item moved up by Commissioner Ellis on page 12. 21-0418. Discussion, public comment rules, sponsored by Chairman Pitts.
All right, Commissioner Ellis?
I'll speak on it. I mean, it was your discussion item, right? I just had it moved up because it was germane before the action item related to public comment. What's that? Not on the public comment. That's a different one. We removed that one. Yeah, this is the discussion related to public comment rules. I mean, I'll be glad to start talking on it, but I didn't know if you want to introduce it.
No, go ahead. I thought we talked about this at the last meeting and that everyone should have received a report from my office regarding what, it was dated June 11th. That was sent to each commissioner.
Yeah, well, I have some comments on it.
Okay, and these were just some thoughts that we
Yeah.
looked at, what surrounding counties are doing
Right.
and offered several options for us to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be brief in remarks on it. I mean, I think that we started accepting written comments. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think we should continue to do so. I think the bigger question is, how do we provide for a public comment in a open and fair manner while also assuring that we had some sort of consistent start to our meeting times, right? Is this sort of we need to figure out how to strike a healthy balance to that. I personally, sort of like the approach that Gwinnett County has used, and I think some cities in Fulton County actually use it as well, where they take public comment at the end. Or an alternative to that of having a fixed amount of public comment time at the beginning, and then any remarks that aren't heard within some sort of period of time, or heard at the end. And I also thought what we've had at the past two meetings of the grouping together of the written comments that are, essentially identical, but a reading of the names of the ones that were identical, was a good, sort of a good approach as well. So I think, to me, I mean, sort of those three elements, having a fixed amount of time started at the beginning of the meeting, grouping together of these written comments, and then, an option for remarks at the end if all the remarks aren't covered in whatever that set period of time is, whether it's 20 minutes or whether it's 30 minutes or whether it's 45 minutes or an hour.
Okay. Commissioner Abdur-Rahman.
Yes, Chairman. It looks like all of Commissioner Ellis' comments are in my motion. I'm saying that maybe we can merge these. The 21-0466 that I have actually on the agenda would cure all of this, and absolutely agree with everything Commissioner Ellis said.
Just a point of inquiry on, just for Commissioner's comments here. I guess maybe I misread your resolution. I guess I'd sort of read some of that was that you had styled some of these as only changes would only be applicable in the context of a pandemic. Did I misread that?
Yes, you misread it. What I was trying to do was to give the board the authority, because it is a pandemic, but at some point the pandemic will be over. And so that would give us the authority to amend it to what we need to, because I'm thinking once the pandemic is over, we won't have 170 email comments or such. And so part of mine was to allow us to do the, how we have it now, where we have one person, it's announced as one person's, and then the person that's yay or nay, we were able to go through it this morning quickly. And then all those that were alike, we are grouped. And so after the pandemic, and at which time that we need to resolve that, we can come back and change that, because I don't anticipate, I mean, I'm open to any conversation, but I don't anticipate after the pandemic that we will have individuals that will need to, send in almost 200 email comments. And so in order to actually accommodate it because of the pandemic, the way that we did it this morning, I thought was a great way to do it. And then moving forward, if we need to change it or streamline it more, we'll be able to come back and do it.
Okay, well, I guess in my comments, I guess what the email commentary, I think, regardless of the pandemic, should be a permanent feature.
You want the email to be a permanent feature?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
you know what? I'll make it easy for you. I agree.
What about the, and I guess one thing that's not I didn't see in here that this spoke to is, and I guess this is sort of a point of discussion for the board, do we ever want to basically cut off time at the front of a meeting and just have it set an end time? You know, we ended at 30 minutes, and if it's not heard, I think a couple of the folks have this right in their stuff, and then if it's not heard within that window, whatever it is, then there's opportunity if those folks still want to be heard, or if there are email comments that weren't read during that they're read at the end.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes.
All right. Why don't the two of you sort of get together and come up with something and come back so we can all look at it and vote it up or vote it down? Does that make sense?
Okay. That's
And
fair.
You wanted to add something, didn't you?
That's fine, I'm open. I just want us to have some consistency soon as possible, because we end up only meeting once next month, and we don't want to have the same situation. So that was my only concern, is that you, Chairman, yourself, you've been saying that we've been dealing with this for 2 months. And so, but I'm more than happy to entertain it, or a friendly amendment. It's just up to you all.
So let's do this. Without any objection, then Commissioner Abdur-Rahman, Commissioner Ellis get together and come up with something. And you want to be involved in it? All right. And
Or while we're here, though, if other people have other commentary around it they want to throw in, speak up.
Well, they get with the three of y'all, because today seemed to work better.
Exactly. And so if we could use the model of today, I'm fine. Commissioner Ellis, was there something in particular other than what I just acquiesced to? Because I don't have a problem with what you said.
No, I mean, I think the structure we used today was fine, but let's say there had been 600 email comments, or if there had been, 45 public speakers, did we want to hear all of those, or did we want to, put a finite time on something, right? Do we want to say, after an hour of public comment max, we'll end it, and if there were other things that weren't either read into the record or speakers that weren't heard, we would hear it at the end of the meeting. I guess that's really the bigger question is, I mean, we have stated rules, but we've never followed them about a time frame, right? And because we had this idea that we wanted to let people be heard, so, my thought is allow people to be heard, but also allow us to fix point in time where, we're going to start our meeting regardless. So we're going to start our meeting at, 11:30 or whatever, regardless. And then if there were comments that weren't heard, we would bring those forth at the end of the meeting. So that's really the only sort of open question in my mind is, kind of this time frame. The fashion of which we did the email comments and all that sort of stuff, I'm fine with. I thought that's worked well the past two meetings.
Well, Commissioner Ellis, I'm willing to take that as an amendment. I don't have a problem with that.
But any objection to writing it down so we have it in front of us?
I don't have a problem with that.
So it's the three of you now.
We'll come back with something.
Are we not?
Okay.
All right, now we got three people working on this. Prior to our next meeting, got almost a month for y'all to get together, and we'll have something to vote up or vote down. It's don't complicate it, simplify it.
Yeah, my only comment is, I thought today went very well. The staff had plenty of time to compile all the emails into groups. So my suggestion would be to have some sort of published cutoff time for emails to be received so that we have time to sort them out and make sure that everybody's name is mentioned.
That's reasonable.
So Chairman, can I say, and here again, I understand what you're trying to do, but I'm in agreement with everything that's being said. So can we just move it today, vote on it, and move, and that way we'll have it in place for the next one?
Yeah, that's my only concern.
All right, if y'all want to kick the can down the road another month, it's all right with me. I'm just saying, we went well this morning, and here again, when we come back in July, we may have the same situation, so it's up to you all.
Okay, let's move forward. I think we're on the same page here now. We get it done. All right, what's next?
Bottom of page 10, 21-0467. Request approval of a resolution by the Fulton County Board of Commissioners amending and clarifying the per diem allotment available for the Board of Directors of the Development Authority of Fulton County and for other purposes. Sponsored by Commissioner Morris.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Morris?
Yeah, as I've indicated to some of you, I'd like to hold this today, but have a little discussion about it. I've been hoping that we would find evidence, minutes, something that this Board of Commissioners did at some point in time in history to create a per diem for the Development Authority of Fulton County as required by state law. So far, unless something's happened in the last hour or two, we haven't found anything like that. Is that correct, Ms. Burwell?
That is correct.
So arguably, and I say arguably because I think they're just open questions that we need to resolve, arguably there is no per diem set for the Development Authority, and perhaps none should have ever been paid. So that raises any number of questions and open questions, and that's why I want to hold this thing for further study to see what we ought to do. My preference, quite frankly, would be to set the per diem at $0. And I know state law does say that there shall be a per diem. Gwinnett and Cobb have, for the last 11 years, they've been under this state law, have not adopted a per diem. Arguably, it's a lawyer in me, I guess, says that inaction is action to set a per diem at $0. And I'm not sure why we can't do that. The Invest in Atlanta Board, Development Authority on which I sit, pays no per diem. These citizens do it as public service. The Cobb and Gwinnett Development Authority folks do it as public service. So I'm hoping that we'll get some resolution about all that by our next meeting and decide what we want to do with this per diem. I think the Development Authority is trying to take some actions, and I applaud them for that, to sort of create some transparency about all this. The other thing I've asked the county attorney for is some paper that allows us to require the Development Authority of Fulton County's members to be required to file financial disclosure reports. All of us on this board, in addition to the financial disclosure reports we have to file with the state, we have to file one with the county. And it seems to me that this entity, which in effect invests millions and millions of dollars of public money, ought to be filing some financial disclosure reports as well. And the one that's already existing, the form that already exists for us to file, and perhaps others, I'd be interested, Ms. Burwell, if there are other boards and commissions that we have that are required to file that. But if we can, in effect, make that a requirement of serving on that board as well for next time, I think that'd be terrific. With that, Mr. Chairman, some of us have talked individually about some of the open questions, and we'll continue to look at those over the next month. But I would like to hold this one until our next meeting.
All right, as the author, you recommended that we hold. All right, Vice Chair seconds that. Vice Chair wants to be heard, and Commissioner Abdur-Rahman wants to be heard.
I just wanted to address the fact that I asked the county attorney some questions about the per diem, and it was found that the vote for this current per diem at $200 per meeting was actually done by the Development Authority of Fulton County Board, which goes against the law. They did not have the authority to set that per diem to begin with. So I think that we do need to hold this so that we can really look deeper into this and come back with all the facts. And I agree with Commissioner Morris.
Commissioner Abdur-Rahman.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we also should, as a board, allow the Development Authority to give us any proof of anything that they have in the spirit of transparency, because I would like to be fair. I have some questions myself, but I also know that they have been very successful in a lot of development. And so I would not want us to make any decisions without allowing them to fully give full disclosure. I have gotten quite a bit of information from my appointee, and I am awaiting on some information myself that I have asked for. And so I would just politely suggest to my colleagues that they do the same, because it has been in the news. I have gotten several calls one way or another, and I think this deems us making sure that we have some serious conversations with them and give them an opportunity to put forth whatever documentation they have, because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm real hesitant about Fulton County being embarrassed because we may have not caught something. And that's not to say that they haven't done anything and everything above board, but I think we don't need to rush to judgment, but we do need to do what we have been elected to do, which is to have conversations, make sure our appointees is giving us information. You know, don't just appoint someone and then you don't have a conversation with them, but then you're totally shocked when you see something in a news report. And so we have to look at how clean our hands are and what we have done to make sure that Fulton County, one, is not embarrassed, and two, that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So Commissioner Morris, I do agree. I've had several conversations with you about this, and I hope that we can get the information forthcoming that we need and make the decisions accordingly.
Okay, Commissioner, were you suggesting that we invite them to come before the board and explain
You know what, Chairman? I think that would be best. I think that would be best because we've got to decide what's facts and what's conjecture. And so I just think that that's what we need. That's what we need. So I would put forth that we should ask for them to come forth, and whatever we ask for that we need to be able to make the decisions that we need to make, that they either, one, supply the paperwork or supply the reason why they don't have the paperwork. And so, yes, I would concur with that, Chairman.
Okay, any objections to us inviting the board or representatives of the board to appear before us to discuss this matter? Okay, Commissioner Vice Chair Hall.
I just wanted to let everyone know that I asked them if there was someone that could come forward from the Development Authority of Fulton County and speak to us today. And one of the responses that I received was that the crisis management expert advised against it. And so I don't know what that means, but I did ask for that, and I want to add to that is necessary, as well as a report on all other boards and their per diem, so that we can see across the board what this looks like, and a clear, concise, written law, because I got a lot of documents from our emails back and forth, Madam County Attorney, but I want to make sure that my colleagues have those as well.
Okay, two things. Number one, there was a report done about we must have some 60, 70, 80 boards, commissions, authorities, et cetera, that was done. I thought we'd acted on it, but apparently we have not. So could you dust that off? It also includes compensation that each board receives, and I think we were probably cutting out about 20 or 30 of them anyway to reduce the number, because half of them don't even meet, or there's no need for half of them anymore. So if you could bring that back to us way before our next meeting, Mr. Manager, that would be appreciated. And number two, with respect to the comments by Commissioner Abdur-Rahman, I would be, if there are no objections, I will write a letter on behalf of the board asking them to appear to talk to us about this situation. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, Chairman, I just wanted to make it known, because I have had a conversation with Commissioner Lee Morris. I've gotten several calls from the board wanting to meet with me. And so I'm not sure why they told Commissioner Hall that, Vice Chair Hall, but no, I'm not saying that it's not true. What I'm telling you is my experience has been different. And I went out of my way to tell them that I would not meet with them until I came to this body and had a conversation. And so they have wanted to meet quite a few members of other commissioners up here. Their appointees have reached out to me personally wanting to meet with me, and I have told them to wait. And so I just want to clear that up, that I have gotten a response from them. They have wanted to meet with me, and I have told them to wait because I wanted to see what was the action of the board, because here again, we still need 4 votes on anything that we do. And I don't want to go and meet with half of the board, all of the board, only to come back and we don't have the full information. And so I just wanted to make sure that I'm on the record letting the public know that I have received several requests from that board and also appointees across the board that wanted to meet with me. Thank you.
Okay, if they're in the absence of any objection, then I will extend an invitation on behalf of the full board for them to, someone, a representative, to appear at our next meeting to discuss this matter. Any objections? Commissioner Ellis, or questions?
Well,
Commissioner
a
Ellis?
question, I don't know necessarily, objection per se. It's my understanding that, the authority has, developed their own revised set of policies and so forth, none of which, I'd like to have a copy of those before we had some sort of representative appear and just sort of talk generically to us. I'd like to see, if they've adopted something, perhaps it's generally in concert with what all of our, views would be anyway. So I'd like to get that beforehand. So if we could request that on behalf of the board. Yeah, so if we could request, I'd rather have that requested on behalf of the board, and that we be provided with that, really as soon as it's available.
Any of the things they've adopted.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But in addition to them appearing before us.
Well, I'd like to see that before we just had somebody generically appear for us. So.
Chairman, I just would like for us to be specific in what we're asking for them to present to us, because I do agree, I have asked for items. I haven't received them yet because I wanted to wait till the board, and I have asked for specific items, copies of bylaws and such, and so, and meetings. So at any rate, I would agree with Commissioner Ellis. We do need that information, but we also do need a letter sent from us requesting their presence. Thank you.
Well, I'll craft something that will try to capture the spirit of what I'm hearing today in terms of what they have already done, but then also asking them to come before us. And I was just informed that the president said they have no objection of appearing before us. Okay, next item.
On page 11, Commissioners' Full Board Appointments, 21-0468, Fulton Atlanta Land Bank Authority. Vice Chair Hall has nominated Cal Lamont for a full board appointment to a term ending August 7, 2023.
Second. Questions or comments? If not, let's vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. 21-0469, Development Authority of Fulton County. Fulton County Board of Education has appointed Dr. Mike Looney for a full board appointment to a term ending May 31st, 2025.
And we are, what's the correct word? We're affirming their, what are we doing? What's the correct term? Madam County Attorney. It's not optional, so what are we doing?
Right, so you have the, they make the choice and the board then accepts their choice and approves it.
So we accept their choice.
Yes.
All right.
And vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays. On page 12, 21-0470, Development Authority of Fulton County, Atlanta Board of Education has appointed Erica M. Long, Esquire, for a full board appointment to a term ending May 31st, 2025.
And again, we will be accepting their appointment, okay? All right. All right, properly moved and seconded.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Mr. Chairman, point of
Yes.
order. Could we go ahead and take the other board appointment at this time? Move that up, take that now, the Board of Assessors appointment that we added. Would you be okay with that?
Where is that?
It's item 476.
Add-on memo, page 3.
Okay, sound that.
21-0476, Fulton County Board of Tax Assessors. Commissioner Hausmann has nominated Michael Fitzgerald for a full board reappointment to a term ending June 30th, 2025.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Hausmann, seconded by Commissioner Morris. Cast your votes, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, continue.
Get back on page 12, under Commissioner's presentation and discussion items, 21-0471, discussion Atlanta Beltline, June 9th, 2021 CEO report, sponsored by Commissioner Morris.
And that was one of the ones that we asked to be held.
No,
No?
not the Beltline. The Beltline CEO report is just perfunctory. It's not anything we take any action on.
Wait a minute, which one are you? 0417? 0417.
471, I'm sorry.
She's read
471.
She sounded 471, Chairman.
No. We're talking about 0417, was one of the ones that Commissioner,
That's not what she
Yes,
sounded.
yes, we did hold his.
yeah,
But we're now on
Yeah.
471.
we're holding 017.
Yeah,
We're going to take those up as we get to them. Okay, that one,
and now we're on that one.
71, all right?
Which is the Beltline CEO report he issued to the executive committee of the Beltline, not the full board. And if there are any questions about his report, I'm happy to get information to you on that.
Next.
21-0472, discussion Invest Atlanta Board of Directors, May 20th, 2021 meeting summary, sponsored by Commissioner Morris.
And again, this is the routine set of summary minutes of the actions taken by the Invest Atlanta Development Authority at its May 20th meeting. And if anyone had like any information about any of those items, I'd be happy to get that for you as well.
Okay, next one.
Next, back to the consent agenda on page 3, item removed for separate consideration by Vice Chair Hall. 21-0431, Finance. No action is requested. This reporting is being provided to meet the quarterly reporting requirement for the monetary transfers among budget funds per Board Resolution 09-01262.
Thank you. Move approval. And my question, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and my question was just about the fitness center. It mentioned the fitness center in this item, and I wanted to know, does this include the equipment? Because I've had quite a few employees mention how the fitness center, in their words, is awful.
Okay, Madam Vice Chair, we are actually looking into replacing the equipment. So this doesn't include the equipment. This is just information on the posting of transactions to the account. So,
Oh.
yeah, but we are looking into replacing the equipment.
You are, okay, that's good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Next item.
Vote is open.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay. And for the add-on items on the recess, added to the recess meeting agenda on page 3 of the add-on memo, 21-0475, registration and elections. Request approval to utilize cooperative purchasing for the purchase of inventory tracking software.
All right, what's your pleasure? Commissioner Abdur-Rahman moved approval, seconded by Commissioner Morris. Any questions? All right, let's vote, please.
I had
I'm
a
sorry.
question.
Commissioner Ellis?
So this is, I guess, sort of a little bit of a procedural question. So this is a grant-funded item, is that correct?
Yes,
Correct.
Commissioner.
Did SB 202 not prevent the use of grant funding for elections purposes?
It would not be applicable to this because these grant funds were received last year.
So the act doesn't speak to expenditures once the act is passed?
It applies to grant funds going forward, not grant funds received in the past.
Okay. I don't know if I would necessarily fully interpret it that way, but, okay.
Okay, anyone else? Motion on the floor is to approve. Cast your votes, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 4 yeas, 1 nay.
Next item.
21-0477, revision of the resolution encouraging the deposit of a portion of funds allocated to Fulton County through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2020 and other funds with minority-owned financial institutions that meet the county's investment policy guidelines.
All right,
Sponsored by
motion-
Chairman Pitts.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Hall, seconded by Commissioner Ellis. These are two amendments I spoke about earlier. One, expanding it to include, or clarifying rather, that not only domiciled or headquartered in Fulton County, but also with a branch or an office in Fulton County and having to be in business at least 2 years. Motion is to approve. Cast your vote, please.
And the vote is open. And the motion passes, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Other items to come before us today?
No further items, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, now back to the, before we adjourn, Commissioner Abdur-Rahman, would you convene you, Commissioner Hall, and Commissioner Ellis to clarify and come up with a document regarding public comment?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any other matters that come before us today? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
For a written transcript of this meeting, or if you need reasonable accommodations, including this communication in an alternative format due to disability, please contact the Clerk to the Commission's office at 404-612-8232.